Well, it's very interesting, Hala. There was big expectations here of this meeting in Doha. They call it the big freeze, the four, because they're going to freeze production. I would say it was the big disappointment for the market. Just over a month ago, in fact, the Nigerian energy minister was here in Abu Dhabi in an interview with us. He said, look, we need emergency action to try to raise prices. So the expectations were very high. And the four that met in Doha today kind of delivered below the bar, if you will. We had a big rally on Thursday, Friday of some 10%. Then another 3 to 5% gain on Monday with hopes of a cut in production. Basically, what we saw here is just a holding pattern by OPEC and non-OPEC players. But the market did not panic. So it suggests, Hala, that we perhaps have found a floor in the market today. $32 a barrel is not $35 where we are Monday, but it's also well off the low of $27 that we saw last week. In sum here, what has happened, it's the Saudi Arabian strategy to basically hold production where it is today. We have a record production for Saudi Arabia, the same for Russia, the UAE, Kuwait, and Iraq. They're making a big bet here, Hala, that production right now will hold steady at 1.75 million barrels a day, eat up that surplus, and then we'll see more shale production drop off in the second half of the year. I'm not sure if it's going to play out that way, but the market seems to be pretty sanguine where we are right now.
And what about Iran with the lifting of sanctions? Does Iran play into this or not?
Yeah, Iran does play into it. It's interesting. A Gulf source that I spoke to that was sitting in the meetings in Doha today suggested that this is a deal that is contingent on all the OPEC and non-OPEC players participating. So it does raise a huge question mark over Iran, and I would add there Iraq as well. Now, Iran, the energy minister told me in the last couple of months that they're not going to be subject to any new deal from OPEC or non-OPEC players. They were living under sanctions for the last 4 years. Why would they cut? Because they were strangled by the sanctions. Iraq is now producing a record 4.3 million barrels a day. They have aspirations to take that to 6 million barrels a day by 2020. They don't want to cut back as well. Now, the Venezuelan minister, who's been running around the Middle East and Russia trying to rally the troops for the last 10 days, is going to go back to Tehran tomorrow and sit down with the Iranian and Iraqi oil minister and see what they have to say going forward. It's very hard to see a deal coming forth if Iraq's not part of it and Iran wants to accelerate its production in the second half of 2016. Obviously, with the tensions between Saudi Arabia and Iran, that would be very difficult. Now, there's a precedent. If there's a panic and prices start to go lower again, Hala, they can come back to the table like they did back in 2001 and try to stitch together a deal. It doesn't look that way right now.